Hello, everyone. Thank you so much for being here. This is the Oneness Podcast. I am Jessica Delmar. Over the past week, the sun has been powerful in my awareness. I've been feeling the strength of the sun for quite some time and how essential it is to receive the nourishment and nutrients of the sun. I am currently here in Arizona and I've been soaking up a lot of sun. And for it being a desert climate, I surprisingly haven't had the need to drink as much water as I have in the past, being in, for example, like the Midwest climate or environment. But here in the desert, you'd think I'd be drinking so much water, and I am, of course, but not quite as much as I have been before. And it was occurring to me the other day how the nutrients of the sun are replacing a lot of the nutrients of the water, especially if you are used to maybe tap water, which is not necessarily the cleanest or the safest type of water. Being out here in the desert, I have been drinking mostly alkaline water, and so that could be part of the shift in terms of receiving a lot of the things from water that I need that I wasn't necessarily getting from filtered tap water. Besides all of that, there has been a lot of things going on. I spoke about the interesting Schumann resonance upgrade that happened this past weekend. And so all around, energies are upgrading, frequency is rising in the body. The light from the sun is getting stronger in terms of frequency, which is being absorbed into the earth and also absorbed in our physical bodies, which is part of the unfolding of an upgraded experience and timeline shifts, all of which we're going to talk about in this episode. So stay tuned and enjoy. The light codes we are witnessing through this Schumann resonance frequency are indicating new heart-based light codes. We've gone through so many upgrades in the past few years, upgrades in terms of light frequency upgrades, but this is something very unique. It's almost a solidification or a confirmation of the work that we've been doing over these past however many years, that the heart is truly starting to come online, starting to rev up, starting to amplify in its energy in terms of it gaining more momentum and strength over the head, not necessarily over the head, but things are becoming a little bit more balanced so that the head or the brain space doesn't have so much control in terms of how we are within our reality. So when the brain or the headspace has most of the control over the body, it's often what results in us being subject to or being controlled within sort of that matrix reality or hierarchy. And now that things are shifting more into the heart, it solidifies more of a sovereignty within our own unique beings. The other thing that was coming through was a very powerful awareness between the first half of the year and the second half of the year, which is what we'll talk more about later on when it comes to all of these timeline shifts coming along with this upgraded heart-based light code frequency. But basically, this powerful shift occurring at this moment is about resonating more with love and appreciation and energetic intimacy with the earth, unlike we've ever seen before and unlike we've ever experienced before. So of course, yes, we've been upgrading love and appreciation and all of these heart-feeling things with the earth before, but we also have to recognize how many layers there are of even just understanding what love is and just deepening into the next layer of our understanding of love and compassion is what triggers a lot of these new light upgrades that are more heart-centered, because every time we deepen into our knowledge and understanding and beingness of love, we become more and more in alignment and harmony with the tuning of a heart-based new earth. The purpose of all of this is to get us more into the body, because there is an inspired action that is taking place within each and every person at this moment if you're able to tune into these energies. Because it's in the heart space, it means that it's in the body. And being in the body is essential for us to move with inspired action or through inspired action, rather than action being taken through control in the mind space. So what I was saying about the heart allowing you to be in the body and be more of a sovereign, unique person and perspective, that's part of us really sort of flipping things inside out. And what came through is, it's not the best sort of analogy, but what came through was like the puppet and the puppeteer, just because we kind of understand that sort of thing when it comes to our society in general. But basically, when we drop into our heart space, we reclaim that sort of ability to be the puppeteer of our reality, of our own realities. And what this does is it releases the grasp of many of the strings that we were firmly attached to within what many people would call the matrix, because that sort of matrix field relies on people to be the puppets of a greater puppeteer, sort of making all of the moves happen in a very unconscious way. So when that shift happens and we begin to reclaim our own being, therefore we become our own puppeteer of our own reality. But again, this is from the heart space. It's not from the mind space. So being the puppeteer from the heart space reaps a very different reward in the reality that we create for ourselves. And so it helps us to step into the heart of New Earth when we come forth from our own hearts. So our heart is the intention, and our thoughts, which still play a role, they become the strings, the new strings that we as puppeteers sort of use to create our reality, right? And you can feel through your heart, through that heart intention, what is most needed in the universal experience from our unique perspective in order to create it as that puppeteer. This means that when your heart holds a calling, a deep calling, you are the one to make it happen, whether it's through alignment, action, reception, or even just intention. When you have a calling, only you know what it takes to fulfill that calling. There is the energy of a moving part within you that is working towards making something much bigger happen within that greater New Earth heart. Everything is energy, and whatever energy you are holding is what determines the frequency of reality that you exist within. This is very basic knowledge of manifestation. Everything is energy, and whatever energy you are holding is what determines the frequency of reality that you exist within. Even though there are billions of people on the planet, not everyone exists within the same frequency reality. So at this time, with these heart light upgrades, if you will, what this specifically means is that spirit does not want you to hold yourself back. The universe, God, source, your higher self, the earth, the collective, all the different moving parts is asking you not to hold yourself back. Because if you think of a greater machine full of small moving parts that all work towards how the greater machine works, then every single smallest part needs to play its role in order for the greater machine to be optimized and be at its best. And at this time during ascension, there is a tuning of that greater machine. And so there might be times when things aren't working properly, or parts of the machine are breaking down, other parts of the machine are getting upgrades, right? Like it's trying to find its new rhythm, and that might be a little bit messy during times, but that's part of the greater ebb and flow of the universe in general. And being able to kind of dance or find the rhythm of this new dance of where this greater machine is going and where it's trying to transform into is part of our own personal transformations. It's part of our own personal things that we're going through in our lives. So the greater message is saying, don't hold yourself back. I need you to do what you are feeling called to do in order for me, the greater machine, to work properly and to lift off and to take it to the next level of where I'm trying to go. So do not hold yourself back from things that you want to do, from those deeper callings that you have, especially in your heart. So maybe you might be comparing yourself to others. Maybe you are thinking that doing something you feel called to do is going to take too much money. Maybe you feel unworthy of those callings. Maybe you feel like you're not good enough or talented enough. Maybe it feels impossible, so you feel unmotivated to even start. Everyone is vibrating at a very specific frequency at this moment that matches a pattern of light that unfolds in many different layers and dimensions. This is a vast universal network that is wide and deep, and there are many who contribute to the greater unfolding of this universal network. Everyone is holding a specific place in this universal network or this interwoven web. And as that interwoven web or universal network moves, so does everyone, because everyone is connected. This shift or upgrade is an undeniable pull or drop into the heart space, where you are receiving information from that heart space of what action or inspired steps must be taken on your end in alignment with this greater internal inspiration and higher self connected to an even greater source, right? That greater machine, that greater network, universal network. So you're receiving the information at this moment, but it comes forth from your heart. So you have to be able to hear it in the heart space. And in order to do so, you have to drop into the heart, drop into the body. This is where it kind of goes into timeline shifts. So many of you have been feeling the momentum of this pull into the heart over the past 6 months, especially ever since the beginning of the year. Maybe something has shifted internally for you, especially if you are the type of person who lives mostly in your head. Because if you live mostly in your head, or you have sort of a track record of living mostly in your head, then you are going to feel this shift into the heart so much more dramatically. It's kind of like you're diving off of the really high dive board into the really deep end, because it's so opposite. It's almost polarizing for you. But if you have been working to be present and be living more in your heart space, especially over the past 6 months, you may be feeling this upgrade as a deeper pull, or you may have been feeling this transition as more of a deepening into your trusting of yourself, letting go, honoring who you are, dropping more into your being state rather than your doing state, and learning what that feels like in the body. And more importantly, allowing your higher self or a higher power that you personally connect to lead you through whatever you're going through in life. Especially when you are going through your fears or the scary moments of your life, or the uncertain and doubtful moments of your life. The time is right now. Action is required for a greater collective movement. You have had time to rest. There's been a lot of rest over the past 6 months, a lot of deep inner integration. But now there is a big push of energy projecting and moving you forward. It's calling for you to move in however you are feeling called. And there's so many different ways that a person can feel that calling in their heart, or what that feels like and how a person feels called to move with that calling. Do not be afraid, but listen to your heart. Even when things feel impossible, the heart will lead you one step at a time. Now, the thing you must know about heart callings is that there are many different levels, many different frequencies, many different intensities to heart callings. So if you're listening to this message and you're thinking, oh my God, what is this deeper calling that I'm supposed to follow? thinking that it's supposed to be something that's humongously life-changing. The answer is that it might not be. It might be something very mundane, but the purpose is just to get you more and more into your heart so that you can hear all the ways that your heart is talking to you on a daily basis. Your heart does not only come online to tell you these big inspirational callings of things you must do, such as like move across the country or something pertaining to this great, enormous purpose. Your heart is also leading you throughout your day, offering you guidance in terms of what you should be eating or what you should be doing, or like small little things every single part of the day that is basically just you living through your body, you living through your heart, and not overthinking so much, not being in your head so much to determine how you do your day, how you are doing throughout your day. So that is actually the biggest shift coming through, is it's not necessarily about the intensity of the callings or what this grand purpose is that you're meant to fulfill or follow. Yes, that's going to come for you eventually, but right now it's more about shifting the place from which you're hearing how you're supposed to be throughout the day, because then that just shifts you into a completely heart-centered being state, so that you're connected to your heart all the time, so that you're not fighting your heart and your head pulling against each other or fighting each other, because that just takes you out of the moment, and it takes you out of your body too. So the important thing is being in your body, feeling how your heart is talking to you every moment of every day, so that everything that you're doing is heart-centered. It is aligned with your higher, greater purpose. It is aligned with your higher self. It is aligned with your heart. A specific example that's coming through that I think a lot of you might be struggling with at this moment is job applications, for example. So what the guides are saying is something as simple as like going out and searching for a job. If you feel called to look for a new job, you might be approaching it from that headspace, like what's going to pay me the most money, what feels right in my headspace, like overthinking how you should apply, overthinking what you should say during the interview, overthinking a lot of these things that take you out of the experience of finding that next job that is coming for you, that is here for you. And so if you approach it from a more heart-centered space in terms of just being with the experience and allowing your heart to lead you, what feels inspiring, maybe looking for jobs is really giving you a headache and it's frustrating you. So they say every time that you feel frustrated and you're coming from a head space or a mind space, overthinking all of that stuff, take a time out. Release that a little bit and drop into your heart and reapproach it from a heart space. Don't feel the force of needing to do things, but feel the inspiration when it comes around, when that wave moves through you, because it will if you have the intention. So we are standing in the gateway of the June solstice, preparing for inspired action, heart-centered inspired action, or those inner heart callings. And again, those callings come forth in many, many different ways, and it doesn't always have to be this extremely life-changing calling. It can be the small ones as well throughout your day. It's just about getting you more into a full, complete state of being in alignment with your heart every second of every day. This is all part of the propeller wave of a heart-centered new earth being birthed forth from heart-centered beings. So what this also connects to is a huge timeline shift. This year of 2023 feels very, very interesting in terms of timeline. It almost feels like time at some point in terms of your spiritual evolution will no longer exist. And so it feels like 2023 is a solidifying point, at least in my personal journey, where time is just completely thrown out the window. And everything you're experiencing is like a backward-forward motion, bringing forth like many years within a few days or within a few weeks or months, and even days within a year or a few years. It's very, very strange to explain, but let me try to explain it. So basically, what this energetic upgrade and shift is happening at this point, the solstice in the center of the year. It's blocking off between the first half of the year and the second half of the year. It means that there's a definitive collapse of time that many people are going to start feeling. In particular, the first 6 months of this year of 2023 has shifted many people 6 whole years. And this is kind of what it's felt like for me within this first 6 months. It's almost like I was living an entire year within each month. What this also means is you are establishing your mobility and flexibility through this no space and no time realm as a multidimensional being. It is not necessarily that we have jumped 6 years ahead, but the past 6 months were initiations for many of you through a lot of the inner work that you've been doing. So again, it's almost like 6 years enveloped within a 6-month time frame, so that it opens the energy up for the next 6 years to be something very different for you. In other words, you have been working for this first 6 months of 2023 to prepare a grid that opens up a 6-year timeline going forward to unfold in a way that is absolutely in alignment with your deepest intentions if you allow it to be. Come into your heart and you will allow it to be. So be very careful with your energy and your intentions. Going back to being very mindful as a puppeteer, where your intentions of the heart are moving the strings of the mind and the thoughts. The initiation of these past 6 months have been focusing on specifically allowance and reception. So how open can you become in the face of adversity? How allowing can you be, especially when things get hard? How much love can you hold, even when you feel you're not loved? How receptive can you be, even when you are not receiving, even when you feel stuck, even when you feel blocked? How soft and understanding can you be in spaces that only show you hardness and resistance? You may have found yourself in situations over these past 6 months where you are really, really kind of going through all of this. And now you know the purpose of it is all about integrating more allowance and receptivity or reception into your energetic field, opening up the space for your heart to come through, to birth through, because your heart's only going to come through in states of allowance, in states of receptivity, in states of openness and softness. The guides are saying right now, in terms of how we learn how we only use like 10% of our brain or something, I'm not sure what the correct facts of that are, but they're saying the same thing with your heart. You think the heart is just a muscle that moves blood through the body. It's not. It's a brain as well. And humans, up until this point in time, have only, just like their brain, probably been using only 10% of the heart's brain. So once more of that heart's brain comes online, gosh, it's like the heart, that expansion from the heart space will align with the mind expanding past that 10% that we're using. And it's just, it's incredible from in terms of what I'm seeing and what can be possible that we step into as a heart-based society, as heart-based individuals. The other reason why dropping into the heart is so important at this time is because, and these shifts that we're going through at this specific time, in terms of allowing and being more open and receptive, is because all of this is preparing us for incoming waves of greater collective trauma. So we're not out of the woodwork yet. There's still things for our collective and our planet to work through. But just like what we went through during COVID, for example, I know many of you, myself included, who did not feel the effects of that time period the way that many other people felt the effects of that time period. You have to understand that the more that you connect with your heart and the more you feel aligned with your greater soul, you are almost propelled, up-leveled into this frequency that does not exist on the same level as what is playing out in the collective trauma or the collective suffering. So that is so important. So many more of you will start to experience that within upcoming things. So it does not matter how torrential the rain and waves become. All that matters is that you are in your heart, because your heart will always be the arc of resonance that grounds you into a higher frequency reality of time and space that defies that lower frequency reality of time and space of what might be unfolding in that collective trauma around you again. And that was so powerful when it came through, is our hearts being the arc of resonance. And it sort of brought me back to Noah's ark. So our hearts are an arc. It's an arc of resonance with this higher timeline of new earth. Use this time to get into your body. This energy uprising does not mean that everything is positive, flowing, peaceful, and joyful. High energy in the body can also mean feeling extra sensitive to these rising emotions, and can be felt as irritability, anxiousness, buzzing like you're on too much caffeine, anger, overwhelm, stress, frustration, interrupted sleep patterns, teeth grinding, gut issues, etc., etc. Emotions and feelings are not excluded from ascension. Remember that. But what happens through the process of ascension is we hone our ability to move through all of these emotions and feelings more easily and more confidently and more compassionately. Here are some tips to consider as you move through this highly energetic time. I'm just going to go over them very quickly. If you want to read the full thing, go to my newsletter. The link is in the description of this episode, and you can read the fullness of these tips. Number 1, stretch and move the body. Exercise, get that blood flowing. Go outside, go for a walk, and absorb that sunshine. Number 2, breathe. I can't tell you how much breathing is necessary for the regulation of your body, not only your emotions, your energy, everything going on in the body at this time. Breathing is helping you to regulate. Number 3, absorb sunshine. Get outside, get in that nutrients of the sun, of the sunlight. Number 4, sit with your heart. Really give your heart time. Really carve out time to sit with your heart and reflect within your heart. It will reveal things to you, and it will help you feel more of what it feels like to be in the heart at more times throughout the day. Number 5, cry. Let it out. Crying is one of my favorite things to do to regulate my emotions, to balance my energy. Cry, allow it, don't stifle it. And number 6, be patient. This is huge. Patience is a really, really big one, because the heart is the most patient thing you will ever connect with in your body, the heart. It has all the time in the world for you, and for you to move through whatever you need to move through, to hold space for you. So in us being able to do the same thing to our heart, it creates this beautiful relationship. So every time you're being called to practice patience throughout the day, you will reap the rewards of the heart, the more you settle and soften into patience in the body. Thank you so much for being here. Thank you for all of your support. Thank you for listening. Again, if you want to read this transmission, head on over to my newsletter. The link is in the description of this episode. Sign up for my newsletter so that you can get it straight to your inbox, along with other updates. Thank you again, and I will see you in the next episode. Oneness, love, and peace be with you.